Well, friends and neighbors, old Doc Martin here, and we're back at it. Yeah, we started getting some rain yesterday afternoon, and I thought, well, now is a good time as any to dive back into this diesel generator. And like in the last video, Apache Premier 8500S. In order to get this cabinet off, the end pieces and everything to get down this far, those are all the screws or bolts that you have to take out. And they're all 10 millimeter. The muffler, the ones that hold the muffler on, they are, I believe, 12 millimeter. So here's the other side of it, the starter solenoid. But we can see, and there wasn't as much mouse nest left in there as I thought, but you can see there was a lot of crap, mouse crap. And after I pulled the cabinet off, I took it back outside with the bobcat and blew it off with the air hose. And here's the injector, and that's the compression release. So you push that down, start cranking it, and you know, in cold weather starting, and it'll pop back up. And the fuel tank, let me see if I can get you down there. Blup. There's the fuel tank. That is back in this area. So I am going to cut an access door in there, guaranteed. That way a guy doesn't have to take all these 10 millimeter bolts out and go through all this crap if he needs access to the I got the injector loose or tightened, or replace this fuel line, or to access the compression release. So, but I pulled that fuel pump back out. For one thing, I'm gonna try to get you a picture, because if you remember when we started it back up last time, some call it a throttle, but down inside there, see this little pin right here, right there my index finger is on. Okay, apparently that regulates the amount of fuel. So either it's, with this setup, it's either wide open or not at all. But that pin, okay, see that little space in there? It's moving back and forth. That pin has to be down in between those two uprights in order for it to, that's why I couldn't shut it down last time by pushing this and letting that flop back, because I didn't get that pin lined back up. So actually it wasn't too bad taking it apart. You know, like I said, there's, well, you've seen all the bolts or screws, whatever you want to call them, going through all that. But the hassle was getting this electric panel Getting this electric panel through. That opening. That was the bear's butt of taking this apart, or getting that cabinet off. Was getting, because the wires are all zip tied and so short and everything. It was, and it's going to be a funzie. Now, I've seen newer models of this to where it doesn't have a cabinet like that. It just has a tubed frame, you know, and all this is exposed. So, and I thought about that, but that 1-inch square tubing that I made the Bobcat cab out of, I want to make sides with what I have left for my flatbed trailer. But otherwise, there's a few pieces of that square tubing right there. Otherwise, I could take that and just make, okay, there's a good example. My generator back there, so it's just got, you know, the pipe or the tubing frame and everything else is exposed. Yeah, that's the way some of the newer generations of this exact setup is. It has that tubing around it instead of the cabinet. But to me, the cabinet, for one thing, it's going to keep this thing quieter. If I was out on the farm or something, you know, the cabinet wouldn't really have that big of a bearing. But so it's going to keep it quiet, and if it has to be outside in the weather, which I have enough cords, you know, that's not really a deal. It could be either in here or in the lean-to, and cords running to the house or whatever. But you know, the cabinet, it's going to protect it from the weather. Now, also in the last video, I mentioned that this thing in here gets hot, and I thought it was a catalytic converter type deal. And I still don't know what it is, but it gets cherry red in about 5 seconds. And I can see a screen, maybe there, maybe you can see the screen in there. It's almost plugged, and how can I get the light to shine and my hand in there? Maybe not. This is metal. And what it is, I have no idea. Those tailings laying there, that's metal. Look at the soot. So, I don't know. I'm going to pull that metal out of there, take the propane torch, and burn some of that soot out of there. Well, let me get you in. Yeah. I'm going to get some of that soot out of there before we start it back up. And I'm going to start it up and run it before we put the cabinet on, because I got back on the internet, and if you remember in my last video, it said, or I said, that if you're puking black smoke out of the exhaust, it's because the timing isn't right, and the way you time it is with these shims. Well, the information that I was reading at the time off the internet said if you're getting black smoke, add shims. And I guess from, I think it was the same source, factory, these came with three shims on it. Well, there was only one, so I got 3 on there now. So if it's blowing black smoke out the exhaust, add shims. Well, then I found another deal that said just the opposite. If you're getting black smoke, take shims out one at a time until you get down to the desired whatever. So, you know, it's just going to be a hit and miss deal. I'm going to have 3 on there now. Put the fuel pump back in. We'll start it up again after I take the propane torch and burn that catalytic converter, whatever in the heck it is, in there. Burn that soot out of there. And I got to rig up a fuel deal. And then we're going to start this back up and see what we get for black smoke out of it then. If it's, because in the last video I added 1 more shim, so that's a total of 2. And it wasn't near as bad as far as the smoke goes. So we're gonna try 3 this time. See if it clears up some of that smoke. And if it doesn't, well then we can go back and down to 1 shim. But so anyway, what I'm saying is there's conflicting information. If it's running too rich, then it's putting out black smoke, add shims. And then the other one says if it's running rich, putting out black smoke, take shims out. So who the hell knows at this point, right? So we're just gonna do it this way. We're just gonna have 3 shims, burn that soot out of there with the torch, put it back together, rig up a fuel tank, and I'll bring you back and we'll start it up again and go from there. We'll see where we end up. Well, friends and neighbors, I don't know where we left off for sure. I think we were going to hook up a temporary fuel source, and what happened there was I went to move that, just pick up one end of it and set it up here on the pallets so I could siphon the gas. All the gas would be at one end of the tank. Well, I don't know what happened, but I got a hold of it and lifted, and my back went. So I've been down for about 5 days. On Easter, Matthew was home for the weekend, and so he tipped it up for me, and we siphoned what diesel fuel out of the tank, and got that taken care of. So we were gonna go ahead and hook up the alternative fuel source and try it out, being now we have 3 of those gaskets under the fuel pump. And I still wasn't moving very good, and so anyway, Matthew was siphoning the fuel out. I was talking to him, and can you see the issue with this battery? And you can see a lot clearer than what I can. Let's get out of the light. Okay, like I said, this phone is a lot clearer than what I can see. I'm probably a foot further back, 16, 18 inches further back than what you are. So right here, you can't even see what those are. And it's not the first time. So I found some old lure and jig fishing paint stuff. I don't know where it came from, but it was in the house. So I'm going to mark that battery positive and negative, because it's not the first time I've gone to hook that up backward. And what happens to that when you hook it up backward? And I mean, just have like the negative post clamped on and touch the positive post on the wrong side. Not the switch is turned on or anything. You know what happens to that? Right there, and I mean just right now.
Up in smoke, that's where my money goes.
That's what happens. I got a new one ordered. It wasn't easy to find because there's no model numbers, no nothing. That's all that's on it. And I would like to get this stuff off and see what's inside there. Diodes and shit, but I may have some to fix that if I can get the plastic stuff out of the back. And if I can get the plastic stuff out of the back of that, then I'd like to try the same on this. Spark plug wire. It's the solid state ignition that goes to that Tecumseh engine. So yeah. I found something similar to that, 44 bucks. I got another Chinese made one, just like this. Right there, made in China. For $10, $12 off Amazon. But it won't be here until the 20th. So that's as far as we got there. What we're gonna finish this video out with is I want to burn some of that crap out of that thing, and I need to still find some insulation to put in here. You can kind of see some of it was back in there. It didn't look like it was. I wonder if some of that car matting that they use for sound deadening in cars, I wonder what the heat tolerance of that is. Maybe get a few pieces of that. I think that may be, that's the gasket that was right there. I wonder if I got a couple of those gaskets left over from when we did the exhaust system on the Bobcat. I don't know. But I think what we're going to attempt right now is try to burn some of that sooty. And I still don't know what it's glowing right there at the bottom. There's a screen in there, but there's some other metal stuff. I'm wondering if that, the reason that gets so bleeding hot, I mean that whole thing, it turns cherry red in about 5 seconds when you start this up. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's supposed to be like a catalytic converter type deal or what. And I don't know why it turns just cherry red. Unless this thing, like I said, it was running so rich, it was puking black smoke, that it's just filled up with, well, that's like a flange thing on there. That's filled up with soot, and that soot is burning in there. Maybe that's why it turns so red. I don't know. So I'm just going to put some more heat to that, see if I can. You can see the screen back in there. Everything's kind of plugged up and crap. I'm just going to burn some of that out, see what happens. So I don't think you guys are real interested in that. And I'll bring you back when I get done doing what I'm going to do, see what happens. And we'll shorten this, wrap this video up until that rectifier regulator comes. And what that does, for those that don't know, if you have like lights or a battery system, like electric start with the battery, there's a stator behind the flywheel, and it produces AC current. What this does, it changes that AC current to DC current. So you can run like headlights or marker lights, whatever, if you have like a four-wheeler, some old dude thing like that. Or if you have a battery, it has to change that AC current to DC current to charge your battery. That's what that thing does. So anyway, I'm going to burn this out, try to see what happens, and I'll bring you back for the wrap up on this, just this latest episode. Well, I burned it some more. You can see the screen back in there. I don't think I'm really doing it any good, because with that propane blowing back in there, I can't get that thing near as hot as when the engine's running. So I think when that regulator rectifier comes in, I'll put it on. We're going to start this thing with this all open, just like this. That white in there, it is some kind of metal. I'm assuming maybe stainless, and it's wrinkled up kind of like a cupcake paper, that's holding your cupcakes. But it's, I don't know, pretty tough stuff, because it's, I don't know if I can get my light there. I didn't think it was going to hang there. You see it? It's metal, and it doesn't burn out, and it's not breaking off. So, like I said, when that rectifier comes, we'll put it on, start this thing. Oh, and I'm not going to do it on camera. I'm going to take this and clearly mark the positive side, because like I said, this isn't the first time I've gone to hook this battery up to things and had it hooked up backward, or almost had it hooked on backward. So I'm going to mark it before I screw up something that's going to cost me, you know, $100 or $300. But anyway, that this rectifier, it bolts. It came from the back side of there. The black, let me get you in, this black wire, it goes on this bolt for ground. This yellow wire clipped into this red wire, and the two green wires went there. Now, what I did notice is I took a screwdriver and cleaned that up. That little tab thing, it was really loose when, you know, when I went to unplug it. It was plugged in. Don't get me wrong, it was plugged in. But it was really loose, and that little metal tab in there was pretty corroded. So I'm kind of wondering if it was making a good connection from the get. So anyway, friends and neighbors, we're going to wrap this up. We're going to pick this up again probably maybe before the 20th, because I still want to cut an access door. I wonder what the meaning of this, that deal is, because I still want to cut an access door in there so a guy can utilize that compression release and get to this fuel injector. Now, I want to bring this up also real as fast as I can, and you know I'm not that fast. It's a real pain in the butt getting this nut that goes the high pressure side of this fuel pump, and this line right here goes up, and that's what feeds the injector. This hose right here, it's just an overflow, like a bypass hose. It goes back to the fuel tank. But getting this nut, I think it's a 17 millimeter, I think is what the wrench was. Getting that off and back on, it just seems like you're almost cross-threading it. It's a lot easier to loosen this one, and then that way this hard line pivots and gives a little bit. So you guys that's messed with metal gas lines, you know what I'm talking about when you. So that's another reason I want that access door cut. Oh, I'll bet that right there where my finger is, that's probably just like a locator thing, slides over that. So if we cut our access door, and it don't have to be a huge one, just something you can get your hand into, you know, get a wrench down here and get your finger to push the compression release down, because once you start cranking it, that's going to flip back up. So it doesn't have to be a big door. But that's, I bet this little dude right here, this standoff, goes in that cup. So anyway, that's where we're at. I'm sorry for all the screwing around, and it really bakes my begonias that I smoke that damn thing. So with that, friends and neighbors, We finally had a decent day. We had a little dash of snow yesterday morning. Not enough to even frost anything. The weather just can't make up its mind. We've gone from almost 90 degrees back down to, you know, below freezing. And it's today, it's not so bad today. I think it's 63 or something, but the wind's blowing 90 miles an hour. And but you know, that's Nebraska. You just can't have, you know. So anyway, friends and neighbors, I'm going to paint that before I forget. And happy trails.